All right, so we do know that the NFL draft is coming up tomorrow night. A lot of people's futures are going to be changed, and you're a guy that's experienced this, right? You were a first round pick. And so, what was it like for you the night before the draft, knowing that you were going to be a top pick?
Man, I tell you what, it was very exciting. It was exciting and also glad to have some relief. I say that because, in fact, once you finish your college season, you prepare for the Senior Bowl. Once you prepare for the Senior Bowl, then it's on to the Combine. Then after the Combine, the next thing you're doing is preparing for Pro Day. And then after Pro Day is the interview process all over again, and then Draft Day. So for a lot of these kids, it's going to be a relief off their shoulders to finally know exactly where they're going, and exactly what city they'll be playing in, and what team they'll be playing for, and to get settled in. They don't have to answer so many calls from so many different people anymore. They can just kind of get back to themselves and training and just working on your craft. Now, the most important, exciting thing about it is draft night. Draft night is exciting. Of course, they're not going to be able to go to the stage this year and walk across, but it's still a huge, huge ordeal to have your name called and still on TV.
Right.
The most important thing for me was the year I got drafted. I stayed in Auburn. My family drove up from Mississippi. My cousins came over. My coaches came over, and parents and everything. And I remember Joe Gibbs calling me. He called me 3 picks before I was supposed to be picked. And he said, "Hey, we just traded up, and we're trading up to pick you at the 25th pick, and I just wanted you to know." And I was so excited. I kind of left everybody else. So I went and got in the room by myself, didn't tell nobody. Waited till it went across the screen, and because I wanted to see the reaction of my family, and it was such a surreal moment just to hear see my mom, my dad, both shed tears, and then to see my coaches there and my friends and family, for them to live that moment with me, I thought was just one of the most memorable parts of my career and everything. So definitely an exciting time for these kids, even though it's virtual. Still, just remember the reason and the true blessing behind it.
That's a great story. We're catching up with the 2004 SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and again, first round pick, Jason Campbell here. You're exactly right, though, and you hit on something. You really almost don't have time when you're going through that process because I remember my last game at LSU, we won the national championship, and then literally like a day and a half later, I'm flying to Arizona to get ready for the combine. And then in the middle of that, I go to the Senior Bowl, and then you go to the combine, and then you have your pro day. And a lot of
Right.
people are like, man, was it nerve wracking? And it's almost, Jason, like, no, because I didn't have time to really think. All I did was continue to work.
Yeah, it's all you do. You continue. You're constantly being either you're working towards something for the workouts, to train for your pro day or the combine, or you're being scrutinized. Well, I mean, in a good way. You're going through all the interview process. You having to answer a lot of questions. And at the end of the day, only one team can pick you out of 32. So
Right.
your whole objective is I got to impress one team and make one team just fall in love with me to want to take me. And everything. And that's just how the draft process go. But one pick in the draft can change the next 5 picks. So a lot of it is so not in your control that you don't stress yourself out about it. Just let the chips fall where they may, and you make the most of it, and just be excited about the opportunity. Because at the end of the day, you have an opportunity to change your life, to change your family life, and to do something you love on a daily basis. And not many people get a chance to do that in the world. A lot of people can make good amounts of money, but they may not like the job that they have to do that. But you get a chance to enjoy and love what you do on a day-to-day basis. It may not always be fun, but you get to lace them up and you go out and you get to compete. And there's nothing like competing in society.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot and make you say nice things about an LSU Tiger and an Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, we're talking Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, two quarterbacks there from the SEC and in the SEC West that look like they're going to be, somewhere between, Joe's probably going number one. We all know that by now. And then Tua Tagovailoa going somewhere in the top 10. And so can you kind of talk about what you like from those quarterbacks and what you've seen from their development?
Yeah, most definitely. We can start with Joe first. I think he's earned the right to be the first pick in the draft. If you think about it, he's an Ohio kid that went to Ohio State and transferred down to LSU. And once he got to LSU, he still had to compete and win the job. And then, had a pretty good junior year, but then took off his senior year with Joe Brady and Coach Isminger's tutelage. And I think when you think about this kid, is he shows so much grit and so much determination, and I think that kind of just went throughout the whole team this year. And I think because it starts with him. In the Auburn game, he played against us. He stood in the pocket, he took hit after hit, and he still was able to deliver on target. And then going towards the sideline, he would lower his shoulder on a DB just to pick up an extra yard or two when you don't have to as a quarterback. But I
Right.
think he does that just because he know how it fuels the rest of his team. So this kid is someone who's been through some highs, some low moments, and I think he's built and he's weathered a lot of storms. And being from Ohio, if you're Cincinnati, I think you have to take him. And I think you're trying to put people back in the seats and everything. You're trying to rebuild, and he's a hometown kid, but he's earned the right. He had one of the best college seasons of all time. And then you look at Tua. Tua's a kid. I feel like once he walks into the locker room, that he immediately grabs the attention of his teammates because everyone has heard so much about him from a character standpoint. Even when things were going great for him, and even when he went through some injuries, he still was around his teammates. He still was positive minded. He still was there to show the support, and that's something that speaks volume of who he is as a person. And I feel like in the locker room, that goes beyond measures. Now, of course, there's question marks about the hip. There's a question mark because he had a high ankle injury. Is he injury prone or not? I don't think he's injury prone. That's something you can't control. Is your hip the injury that he had? He was trying to make a play, but yes, he learned from it because your most valuable asset is to be available. And I think he learned that by from here on out, hey, live to get to the next play. And for Herbert is a kid we played against at Auburn last year, first game of the
Yeah.
season. He's a prolific type quarterback. He's a big, tall kid. He has a good arm. And I think the thing between him and Tua, both of them are like 2 and 2A right now. And I think the thing that's kind of going to separate them is the Chargers and the Dolphins both have back-to-back picks. So I feel like both of them are going to take the quarterbacks in those positions. Now, the thing is, if you're Miami, you have the first pick, I think. Do you take Tua or do you take Herbert? Well, the question is, yes, Tua's coming off an injury, but you're never 100% when you play on Sundays anyway. You're always 80%, and that's great at the mid part of the season. But if I'm a guy, if I got him at 2 and 2A, then you're probably going to lean more towards the guy for sure that is healthier at the moment, and I feel like they may go with Herbert.
Catching up with Jason Campbell here on a Wednesday afternoon. You just said something that reminded me that Steve Ensminger was actually one of your quarterback coaches when you were at Auburn. Of course,
Yep.
he was the quarterback
Mm-hmm.
coach and the offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow. So what was that time like for you with Steve Ensminger? And, what do you know that he absolutely taught Joe Burrow when he was with him at LSU?
Yeah, I like Steve. I like Steve a lot. He was a good coach for me. Of course, his title was different when he was with me. He was like I said, quarterback coach, and then he was our play caller. But he wasn't in sole control of the whole offense. Coach Bobby Petrino had left the year before, had left that year to go be the head coach at Louisville, and so Coach Tubby was trying to keep the offense the same. So it was kind of offense by committee, and Coach Isming had just got there, so he wasn't even with Petrino the year before to even run his offense. So it was kind of like he was implementing some things within the passing game, and then we had a run game coordinator, then someone to third down. It was just a bunch of too many irons in the fire.
Right.
But Isming was really good to me, though. Like, he kept me balanced throughout the whole process. And then he was my tight end coach my senior year. Coach Borges came over, did the quarterbacks and the offense coordinator, and Coach Isming stayed on staff, so we still had a great relationship. And he's one of those guys, because he played the position, he understands the different levels of how things can transpire at the quarterback position and the highs and the lows and how to stay even keel. He was really good at helping me out at that at being a quarterback at a major university, and he always had his strong opinions, which was very
Yeah.
very good.
All right, speaking of the Auburn Tigers, since I made you talk really, really good about an LSU Tiger and an Alabama quarterback, let's talk about some Auburn players. Look, in normal years, Jason, I mean, Derrick Brown might be the most talented player in a draft, and he's one of the most talented players in this draft. But because, as you know, of quarterback needs and other needs, he might, fall somewhere to 6, 7, or 8. But he could be the top pick. I'm talking about the number 1 or 2 pick in most drafts. What do you like from his game, and how you think it translates?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Derek is one of those kids. He can dominate a game, and you've seen D tackles dominate games because not only do they win the one-on-one battles, but to draw a double team. Anytime you have a D tackle that can draw a double team, it frees up the defensive end to go one-on-one with the tackles. And that's how you get sacks in the NFL. That's how you create turnovers. And for him, like you say, because 3 of the top 7 picks are quarterback needed teams, and then you think about the Redskins. Okay, Chase Young is the guy's defensive end, so they're probably got an edge rusher. Then you look at Detroit. Detroit is a people that's probably taking a corner because they got rid of their best corner. So then the next one you think about, okay, is Carolina. That's probably where he probably ends up going. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants took him at 4, just because the Giants, the years they have been successful, is when they had a dominant upfront presence. And Derrick is a kid, man. I tell you, like being around him at Auburn, he's just as good off the field as he is on the field. Like from a character standpoint, like the kid is a team player. You don't see him get in no trouble.
Right.
He's all about football. He loves football. He loves family, and and he's a guy with he doesn't move as much as you see him weigh. Like the kid, like he can move with the best of them. Like if you watched the Florida game last year when he got that interception and ran about 40, 50 yards, his feet just gave out on him. He got tired. But other than that, though, like the play that he made was such a tremendous play, and I've seen him show up in big games, game after game after game. So, like you said, he's a dominant force, and like I said, in most drafts he would be a top 2 pick, but because of the positions that are needed, he's still going to be a top 10 pick. But he's definitely someone's going to get a home run hitter in him.
All right, again, catching up with Jason Campbell here on a Wednesday afternoon. Before we let you go, I know we've talked a lot of draft, but let's transition real quick to the SEC. And look, I know the conversation and the debate, will we have a college football season? We're going to ask this question and assume that we do have a college football season and everything starts on time. A lot of new faces at the quarterback position in the SEC, right? A lot of first-time starters, and then even the guys returning don't have a lot of experience. Can you remember when you were coming into the offseason, and look, you played for 4 years. I mean, you got time every single year at Auburn, but can you remember that first time knowing you were going to play and kind of the nerves that you had going into that season?
Yeah, this is a unique year, and I say that because I think it's only 2 of the major returning starters in the SEC, and Kellen Mond and Texas A&M with the most experience, and then you probably have to say Bo Nix from Auburn.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the other teams are like rebuilding or starting over from the quarterback position. Ole Miss, I think, they had a freshman that played a lot last year that he'll be going to his second year as well. And you have a lot of new faces at the head coach's position. So I think a lot of those teams not having spring ball is going to make them be in a fast pace trying to play catch up once the pandemic is lifted and they have an opportunity to do something over the summer before the season starts, if that comes available. Because a lot of teams you don't have spring ball, and spring ball is where you find out a lot about kids and that's competing for positions, and especially the quarterback position. You got to put them in a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different situations, see how they react and everything. But not to be able to do that, you pretty much have to go off like just the eye test, like who you feel like who's ready now. And I think fortunately for Auburn, they had a tough schedule last year, and Bo got a chance to play some huge games, and he developed a lot of experience last year because of it. So I think for him coming back into this year and not having spring ball gives him a little bit of an edge because they still be running the same system. Of course, Chad Morris is the new offensive coordinator, but he's going to implement a lot of new things. But for the most part, it's still similarities there. So that helps him out a whole lot. So I can see the SEC this year, it could be quarterback driven just because of that standpoint. But, Auburn did lose a lot on the offensive line, did lose a lot on the defensive side of the ball. But I feel like we have some players that can step up and take advantage of the opportunity. So I feel like it's a wide open year in the SEC. LSU lost a lot. Alabama lost a lot. It is a wide open year. Georgia lost a lot. So I think it's just a matter of which team can come together the fastest within the shortest amount of time to prepare for a season.
Jason, I can't thank you enough. This has been great. I appreciate you giving us 15 minutes. Can't wait for tomorrow's NFL draft. I know you're looking forward to it as well. There he is, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year from 2004, Jason Campbell. Appreciate it again.
I appreciate it, guys. Y'all just check out everything, believe in everything Auburn, and I'll talk to y'all later.